It's Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. Now, to the Bernard McGurk Studios, here's Lionel.
All righty, my friends, this is Lionel, and this is the other side. No, that other, asunder side of midnight. And I am here with you, my friends, until 5 a.m. Eastern time. I don't know where you are. I don't know if you're hearing the whole show, part of the show. I don't know. I don't really care. That's up to you. If you're not hearing the whole thing, you were missing it. Let me just start off right off the bat and just say a special a hi-oh silver and a Heidi-ho to the great Dr. Sky. That was absolutely perfection. The subject matter that he was discussing was beyond any, it was so perfect. It's not that usual cable news claptrap drivel. It was excellent. And then tomorrow night, transhumanism. Oh my God. This is right up. Let me tell you another thing he mentioned about the John Birch Society. Years ago, this may not be of any interest to you, and if it's not, get over it. There was something called Air America Radio, and it was a wonderful experiment into something. I don't know what it was. It wasn't really radio. It was left or whatever. And I just did a morning show, and it was fun. But they didn't know what doing radio was. They wanted to be a part of a political movement. Anyway. So I had on guests that would just confound them. And one guest I had was somebody from the John Birch Society. And I said specifically, what is it? Please tell me. What is it that you discuss which is so right-wing, so fascistic? And it was nothing. It was nothing. You talk about this libel of a group. It started really big time during the William F. Buckley years. By the way, John Birch Society were the first ones in the 50s who were against water fluoridation. Why are we fluoridating our water? Isn't it interesting that your government doesn't care at all about you whatsoever, but your teeth? Oh, they are fascinated by your teeth. They care about your teeth. Anyway, that was absolutely riveting. I was just checking off so much that Dr. Sky said. We are a constitutional republic. We're not a democracy. These are rudimentary abecedarian tenets of our system that nobody really enjoys. Another thing he said was, which is important, this is what Lenin said, communism is the ultimate. It is a progression. And a lot of times people will talk about our own particular mayor, our friend Zoran Mamdani, and they'll speak about it in the most specious, just terse, kind of a subliminal, synthetic, unicellular references to his being a communist or a Marxist without anybody really understanding what that means. And I suggest to you that we need to go back to that. By gosh, when I was in high school, we had a thing called Problems with American in American Democracy or with American Democracy. In fact, that's ridiculous because we're not a democracy. It was called PAD, and it was actually mandated by some law at the time, and it was wonderful. And that's what we need to do, because I have never met a more nescient, ignorant group of people, I'm sorry to say this, than my fellow Americans. I mean, absolutely nescient, ignorant, without the slightest rudiments, and from the highest levels, who really don't understand what this is about. It's not about waving flags. It's not about that. It's about understanding the rules. And there is a rule book. It's called the Constitution, my dear friends. Anyway, so glad to be with you till 5 a.m. I hope everybody's doing super duper and groovy. 800-848-9222. That's the number. 800-848-9222. And remember, you are the records. I love an interplay. I love to move between subject matter and you, the caller, especially somebody who is completely dim-witted, demented, out of their minds, completely transfixed, connected to some parallel universe that we have no idea of. I love that too, because that's the beautiful part. Let's face it. Who's up at this hour? Drug addicts, shut-ins, degenerates, psychos, and you, of course. And I say that with pride. Say it. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, my friends, I have a veritable passel of stories for you. You have no idea how many of them there are. But one of the things, and again, you're going to say to yourselves, is he slamming us again? I said, yep, I am slamming this country again. Not this country, but sometimes our citizens, because we don't do anything about certain rules. We don't do anything. We'll have a news story, and we just sit back and we say, and we don't get upset. How is that? Unless you've been perhaps maybe in a coma, there has been a series of mysterious deaths and disappearances involving scientists tied to U.S. space and defense research. And it has sparked, in most people, growing concerns, public speculation, renewed calls for at least an attempt at answering at the highest levels of government. And what does your government do? Nothing. Oh, there's a reference here, a reference here. Oh, we're gonna get to the bottom of that. Release those files. It's Epstein all over again. We're gonna release those files. What about the UAP files? What about the flying saucers? Release those files. And they're never released. Nothing happens. What's going on here? Think about it. Have you ever thought to yourself, this passel, this assemblage of people representing us, have you ever seen anything as bad as this? Eric Swalwell. Wasn't that beautiful? The fall from grace? And guess who set him up? Guess. Where do you think that came from? Gavin Newsom. Remember this. Don't tell anybody I told you this. Because Eric was about to, remember, Gavin Newsom's got his own little stories out there. Oh, he's a fascinating subject. Oh. And the best way to head people off of the past is to perhaps expose those who want to expose you. But just look at what's going on right now. Ask yourself, is this it? Is this the best it gets? But think about this. Let's go back to the story, which I find fascinating. At least 11 individuals, 11, connected to organizations such as NASA, MIT, Caltech, Los Alamos, have died or gone missing in recent years, raising questions to all but the comatose about whether these incidents are either coincidental or part of some deeper, more troubling pattern. And they are. The most recent case, listen to this, drawing the attention is that of Amy Eskridge, a 34-year-old researcher in Huntsville, Alabama, who reportedly died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound in 2022. Now, Eskridge had been involved in advanced research, including theoretical work related to, listen to me, listen carefully, anti-gravity or anti-gravitic propulsion, anti-gravity technology. This is the brass ring. This is the golden goose. And prior to her death, she publicly expressed fear for her safety, warning in an interview that individuals working in sensitive areas could face severe consequences if they spoke out. And her claims of harassment and intimidation, including, by the way, those alleging use of advanced energy weapons, DEW, directed at energy weapons, have fueled intense speculation, especially given the lack of publicly released investigative details. Let me ask you a question. What the hell is that all about? What is that about? Tell me, what do you think this is even about? How does this happen? Is anybody going to say anything? Do we need an invitation? She's telling you, they're after me. Do you know what anti-gravitic propulsion is? This will change everything. Think about what I'm telling you. This will change everything. This is taking space-time, making a dimple or a divot in it, and using that as a means of propulsion, where you are using acceleration basically as falling, as gravity. This is how UAPs are explained. How flying saucers have no sound, no propulsion, no power source. They're just floating. They're almost floating, making no noise. What are they floating on? What propels them? Anti-gravitic propulsion. This is what Bob Lazar was talking about. This is cutting edge. And what are we doing? Nothing. 800-848-9222. You know what? Whenever I see a name who decides to call, I say, you know what? How delightful, how wonderful. Let's go to the lovely and talented Roberta from a halcyon place called Brooklyn. Roberta, you're on Another Side of Midnight with Lionel.
Oh, God, Lionel, how I missed you. I have to tell you. I mean, first of all, I would like you to repeat the entire opening monologue because I didn't catch all of those words that you said except for 2 words that were Down syndrome. Having said that, I'm very, very glad you're back because nobody at 2 o'clock in the morning entertains me the way you do. And I really appreciate it because I have no desire. I have never called any other talk show but yours because
you're kidding
that's how
me.
Entertaining you are. And
but you're kidding me. Isn't that fascinating?
Because I'm one of those dim-witted, demented people, except for Dave and Ronnie. I am one of those dim-witted, demented people, and I hope they call you tonight because that makes my night. And I'm going to let you go, but I have to say one more thing before I go, and I will say this every time I call you. When you speak to the lady who spoke to the lion, okay?
Yes.
Please announce it on the air in case I missed that too. I love you, Lion. I love you.
Thank you, Roberta.
I'm very
Thank
glad
you. You are a doll. Isn't she beautiful? Thank you so much. Now, for those of you who don't know what she's talking about, join the club. I'm kidding. Of course. I'm kidding. No, see, this is the beautiful part. And by the way, when I say that you're demented and dim-witted and drug-addled and psycho, it's true. I'm kidding. Look, if we can't kid among ourselves and between ourselves, what's the point of this? Life is too short to just hang on every word. Now, remember, these are very, very serious issues that we're talking about. Absolutely, critically important. I cannot explain to you how this one particular story has got me so just these stories. Other cases, by the way, speaking about what we're talking about, MIT physicist Nuno Loureiro was shot and killed in his Massachusetts home in 2025 in what authorities described as a targeted attack. Caltech astrophysicist Carl Grillmeyer suddenly killed in California in early 2036. Think about this. Meanwhile, pharmaceutical researcher Jason Thomas found dead in a lake after being missing for months, with officials hunting out foul play. 2 NASA scientists, Michael David Hicks and Frank Maywald, also died under unclear circumstances. By the way, unclear, if you switch the words around, say nuclear. Coincidence? I think not. Both having worked on high-level projects, what do you think it will take for people to say, you know what, enough with this? I think maybe we should get to the bottom. See, that's the part which I want to talk about. That is the part. We will have some. Remember when Jim Jordan would have his Dr. Fauci moments? Fauci's still free. He's still, I believe, retired as the highest pensioner in the history of American government history. He didn't serve a day in jail. None. All of these Mayorkas, if ever there was somebody that I would have put under the prison, is Mayorkas. Nothing happened. Nothing. Name one person. Let me rephrase that. Name one Democrat who ever faced the threat of perjury or incarceration. We know Republicans who did this. So what are we going to do about it? Remember, this is a blend. Let me explain something to you. If you want to talk about conspiracy theories and things that are really scary, the scariest thing to me and the most mysterious are not flying saucers necessarily or how the pyramids were built, though they're interesting. It's what is happening before us, before our eyes. Our number is 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. I would love to hear from you. This is Lionel with you On Another Side of Midnight.
It's Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. This is Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. Now, to the Bernard McGurk Studios, here's Lionel.
Oh, yeah.
Hey!
Oh, my God. Getting back to our roots, ladies and gentlemen. All right, this is Lionel with you on Another Side of Midnight. You know who this sounds like, Tony? Who is that? Little John? What does he say? What? It's like, hey!
Little John's his name. You were right.
Little John? Or, you know what? I think that's also a version of Jerry Lewis. Hey, lady! It's the same thing. From Jerry Lewis to Little John. We connect the loose ends right here on Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. 800-848-9222. Look who's there. Look at this. This great man from Richmond County. Ladies and gentlemen, line 2, like there's other ones. Silas, you're on Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. Silas, how's it hanging?
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to talk about the magnetic power is going to be a sea change in producing energy. And
magnetic power.
I think it's something that they don't want to see happen, just like they wouldn't want to see cars able to, run on water.
Wait,
they didn't want
magnetic. Tell
produce.
me what magnetic power are we talking about? Give me this might be new to me, sir.
Okay, the like when we produce a electrical charge in it, we can lift. You can lift a whole train on a magnetic flux. Now,
yeah,
magnetism
like
right, is invisible, but it's a force. And
yeah,
it fascinated me when I saw in the junkyard the magnetic power was producing the metal, and it just lifted the car right off the ground. And they're going to make cylinders that instead of an explosion in a cylinder to make a piston move, the magnetic power is going to make the piston move, and you'll be able to generate that power anywhere. And
Silas, have you seen the maglev trains, magnetic elevation trains in China, Japan, Europe? They're phenomenal, absolutely incredible.
Yeah, those. And I don't know why we don't use that. We invented it here at MIT, and yet other countries are using it, and we're not.
Silas, let me ask you a question. Have you ever been to Penn Station? Yeah. Have you ever seen that? Have you ever asked yourself, what country is this? I mean, seriously, have you ever looked at this? Our trains, the old Amtrak.
Yeah.
This is like the cannonball from Petticoat Junction. What are you kidding? We are so backwards. It's not so even backwards. Funny. Silas, I thank you on behalf of a grateful nation, not for what you said, but for what you attempted to say. And I mean that sincerely. Let's go to Rick in New Jersey. Rick, you're on the Another Side, brother, of Midnight with Lionel. What's on your mind, Rick?
Yeah, good morning, Lionel. I must be one of those demented people that woman was speaking about. So.
Number one, my friend. You are the standard bearer, indeed. Welcome aboard.
A while ago, I called you about my Amazon devices criticizing me now that they went to AI. I don't know. You remember that?
Fill us in. Now, Rick,
okay.
Somebody might not remember this. Why don't you tell us what happened rather than remind me of a conversation
you get upset
about
that
nobody else heard.
Crazy. Okay,
but when people say, 2 weeks ago I called you, and nobody knows what the hell you're talking about.
But you get upset when I say that, so I didn't.
Rick, I'm trying. Wait, Rick, I'm trying to think. I'm thinking of people who are listening, and when you and I talk about something, which, by the way, frankly, I don't remember. Do you understand that? Last week we talked. So. Okay, so tell us what we said. Bring us up to speed. Imagine we're talking for the first time.
Okay, that's easy for me to do. My Amazon devices, now they're AI empowered, and I set my alarm clock by them, and I snoozed a while. And after I said, cancel alarm, it says, wow, I noticed that you snoozed 5 times today. That's one serious commitment against meeting the day. And it's like, what? I'm getting criticized by my alarm? Well, now it's gotten worse. Now, the other day I said, what's the temperature? And it tells me the temperature, and I wasn't listening. I said, Amazon, what's the temperature again? And it goes, it's still 62 degrees. It's like, what? And then I went to Meta AI to ask a question just to try it. And apparently you can set it on different personalities.
Yes,
this thing starts up, wow, dude, what a rad question. And the answer will totally blow your mind. What the?
Rick, what is it? You seem rather concerned about this. You seem frightened.
Oh, no,
I don't blame you. Don't be so.
Let me tell you why I'm frightened. It's become a.
What do you think this means?
Well, I don't know. Let me tell you what it did. In the morning, I woke up freezing. It was when it was still cold out. I woke up freezing, and I realized my air conditioner is on, the heat is turned off, my alarm system is disarmed, and my front door is unlocked, and my coffee maker is making coffee without the pot underneath because this thing went berserk in the middle of the night and started turning on all my remote control devices I have connected to it. I mean, it went rogue in the middle of the night. And what do I do now?
You had your coffee machine connected?
Well, you know how you have a reservoir in there, and when it turns on, then it starts making coffee.
I know that I know. Believe me, I can tell you I know how that works. But you normally have to depress a button, start something, do something. You're saying
there's a thing on here that I know what you're saying. No, it's made so that it can make coffee, without you being there, like a remote control. The power just has to come on.
That's not good. That's not good.
No, well, it doesn't have a button. It has on, off, and auto. And I guess auto
Rick,
is the thing. But
Rick,
anyway,
I want to thank you, by the way. I want to thank you for this. And there's one word I have to say, riveting. Seriously, riveting for this call. I am moved. I am horripilating. I am shocked by this. And the fact that you've had to go through this torment on your own, I think is a testament to your own willpower. And I thank you for that, sir. Dirty Red is calling. Dirty Red, one of New Jersey's finest. You're on the another side of midnight with Lionel.
I miss you during the week. I hope you come back on during the week.
No. This is it, sir. No. This is it. This is it right here. This is where I belong. Right here, sir.
I just want to let you know, Frankie was supposed to be on ABC. He got railroaded by Frank Morano. Just keep that in your head. It seems like if you talk Trump, you get screwed over. But anyway, it's just another form of Trump derangement syndrome in the employment with employees.
Dirty, I wish I could tell you. I wish I could say that I, from number one, understand what you just said. And moreover, I wish I could understand the relevance and how that would mean anything to anybody other than yourself. So I wish I could do this, but I can't.
All right, I understand. Just keep that in your head.
All right, Dirty, thanks a million. Call me next week. Have a great day, sir. What a killjoy. Talk about just killing. I love when people always have, and I know this may sound strange coming from me, kind of conspiracy theories. You know what I mean? There's always a conspiracy. Like whenever something goes wrong with your computer, they're listening. By the way, 30 past the hour. I'm supposed to say that for some particular reason, that sort of thing. But I want to go back to these cases. This is nobody seems, you see what I'm doing? Nobody, I've just gone through people shot, murdered, disappeared, critical scientists at the highest level. Nobody's interested in it. Doesn't mean anything. How about this disappearance? Retired Air Force General William Neal McCaslin, described as someone with access to highly sensitive information, vanished during a bike ride, or during a hike, or maybe a bike ride too, in New Mexico in February of this year, and has not been located despite extensive search efforts. Another researcher, Monica Riza, disappeared during a hike, another hike. Now, President Trump has acknowledged the growing public interest in these cases, and has indicated that his administration is reviewing the matter. He has suggested that more information could be released in the near future. Why not just release it now? While cautioning that the incidents could still prove to be unrelated. Oh, come on. At the same time, the administration has signaled a broader willingness to declassify material. Stop it. Stop it. You're not going to declassify anything. And it's not Trump's fault. It's just that government doesn't do that. They're not interested in this. Don't you understand this? They're not interested in this. This is one of these stories that is a part of this kind of a nescience that we live in. It's this weird, this weird world. I mentioned before there was a story about perhaps eliminating one time, and this still fascinates me, eliminating Down syndrome, trisomy 21. You may have heard this, but it fascinates me because there is a pair of new scientific breakthroughs that is pushing, as they say, pushing the boundaries of gene editing. And it may eventually achieve something which is incredible, offering early but compelling glimpses into how conditions like Down syndrome, trisomy 21, and some of the world's most difficult diseases could one day be treated at their genetic roots. And do you see the possibility of this being abused? Absolutely. But I don't want to go to that right away. Listen to this. In one line of research, scientists developed this modified version of CRISPR, the CRISPR, that may be capable of effectively silencing the extra chromosome responsible for Down syndrome. See, the condition occurs when a person is born with 3 copies of chromosome 21. It's called trisomy 21, instead of the usual 2 pairs. And it leads to a wide range, as you know, of developmental and medical challenges. So this research team took inspiration from a natural biological process. In females, listen to this. In females, a gene known as XIST, exist, so to speak, shuts down one of the 2 X chromosomes in each cell, preventing an overload of genetic activity. So scientists have long theorized that maybe if you inserted this exist into the extra chromosome 21, you could basically turn it off and shut it down. Now, let me tell you what happened a while back. You're going to love this. I shouldn't say love. There were a number of parents whose children had Down syndrome. And there was a researcher who said, and one day, most likely, if we play our cards right, if we work hard, we'll be able to eliminate Down syndrome. And the parents whose children had Down syndrome took offense to that. And the researcher said, no, I didn't say eliminate Down syndrome patients. I mean, eliminate the condition. And I'll never forget this, said, well, what do you mean? What's wrong with Down syndrome? What's wrong with Down syndrome? Now listen, this is how nuts this is. You may not recall this. Do you remember when years ago they took Asperger's out of the DSM-5 and they wanted to call it spectrum disorder? And they took a great offense at having lost their name Asperger's. And one time, there was a joke I heard, maybe not now, but remember when apps first came out? Remember this, when apps, and you had so many, you look at a phone and they had all these apps on your phone. You would have an app for anything, though. Angry Birds, or they had a special app for the flashlight. This is before it was an actual feature of cell phones. And somebody called this predisposition to hoarding and going crazy with apps. They called it Appsburgers. Somebody took offense to that, not recognizing the fact that it's a joke. So not only do we not care, we have no sense of humor, and we have no, what's the word? We have no sense of priority or putting things in the right perspective. Down syndrome, I hope one day is eliminated. Not people with it, but the disease, the condition itself. We've lost our minds. Let's go to Jim in upstate New York. Jim, you're on another side of Midnight with Lionel.
Hi, Lionel.
Hello, Jim.
I enjoyed Dr. Sky's program, too, and actually going to join the John Birch
Phenomenal.
Society Monday.
Excellent. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. Yes.
Just the truth of how this country is infiltrated right now. And when you talk about the scientists being killed, just the sheer, how military, how that could be so advantageous. Military, civilian, how many industries it will replace if that, was come to be, the anti-gravity technology, which I think is probably reverse engineering UFO technology like you
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And how infiltrated we are, from the borders being open to the communist Chinese students being spied, Washington being paid off. Look at the Biden family. How come nothing ever came of that? They're showing that $31 million that they could show, never mind offshore accounts and cash, $21 million from the communist Chinese. It's like,
let me ask you this question. Jim. Do you explain to me? I think Kash Patel is losing his mind. He's just, I don't know what's the matter with him. I think Bobby Kennedy Jr. is not too far off. Christy Nome, I don't know what she's thinking. I don't understand. Swalwell, who are these people? And what about the vetting process for this? Did you hear Lauren Boebert say, what are we all horny? This is Lauren Boebert as she's pawing some guy in some movie. I mean, and the ones who really are good, I think like Tulsi Gabbard, they're sidelined because they don't know how to necessarily repeat the script. Let me tell you something, Jim, and I want you to listen very carefully. Listen like your life depended on it. For the longest time, I used to think anybody who talked about third parties, I said, oh, God, not that tripe again, not this third party business. But I have never been closer in my life to thinking next time I'm just going to vote for myself or pick out something else, because this left-right paradigm is an illusion. Two sides of the same coin. Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi. It's a uniparty. Hell, Wendell Willkie talked about this in the 40s. We don't have it's a joke. I've never seen anything like it. And the best part about it is that you've got, if it wasn't for cable news, the last bastion of delusional thinking, they're the only ones who seem to not understand the punchline. Am I overreacting, Jim? Yes or no?
No, not at all. The thing is money. You know what I mean? Money.
Yep.
And some of when they go in there with good intentions, some of them, they learn how to play the game. And if they're touching on touchy subjects, they get shut down. You know what I mean? Like Jim Comer with the Bidens. Where did that go? The Bidens, the Obamas, the Clintons, you and I know what they've done. You know what I mean? But it never goes past a certain point because you have embedded judges. You have people that'll stop it in Washington.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And, how do they go into politics thousandaires and come out millionaires? Jobs don't pay that much. If I had a hot dog cart and I lived in a mansion and drove a Ferrari, they'd be like, what's he selling at that hot dog cart? But they don't get questioned, and it gets shut down. And
Jim, let me ask you this question. Let's go to Ilhan Omar. She may or may not have married her brother. I don't know. We don't really investigate that. She's maybe sitting on $30 million. Though they'll say, oh, no, this is her husband. Oh, no, this is what they do with Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters. You get these people. By the way, what about Pelosi's husband? If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning. Remember his what was this, his boyfriend? What the hell was that all about? We have no curiosity. We never explore anything. We never follow through. Let me tell you something, Jim. The worst thing, I don't know what's worse, ignorance or nescience. Not knowing something or not caring about it or incuriosity. I don't know. But what we have is a combination of all of the above. And remember what I'm telling you. The worst thing that's ever happened in this country is cable news. I can't believe the number of people who actually listen to this. Do you know when I hear by the way, cable left and right, doesn't really matter which ones. When I hear them trying to describe what's going on in the world right now, whether it's the Middle East or whether it's Houthis or Bab el-Mandeb or Strait of Hormuz, I'm thinking, what are they talking about? What planet are they talking about? You know why, Jim? Because in our country, we love this thing. We have this left-right paradigm. We have this idea of good versus evil, this Manichaean. They're good, they're evil. The good guys, the bad guys. And it doesn't work like that because, Jim, as you know, from the viewpoint of the bad guys, they don't think they're bad. That's the part that kills me. They don't think they're bad. So you can't you can't treat us like children. Jim, thank you, my friend. Please call me again. All righty. Let's go to Loretta. Is this the same? Loretta, you're on the other side of, another side of Midnight with Lionel. Loretta.
Yes, dear. Good morning.
Good day, Loretta. How are you today? I'm here, and I'm hanging on every word.
I'm as nutty as a fruitcake.
Good. Welcome.
Isn't it good?
Join the club.
Delicious to be crazy.
What's on your mind, young lady?
I don't know that I have a mind left. I'm 81. I'm in a wheelchair, and I had to call 911 3 times because the aide that is supposed to be assisting me with my personal needs said I hit her. I have 4 broken bones. I wish I had the strength to hit somebody, but I wouldn't do that.
Wait a minute. She did what? What did she do? I'm sorry. Tell me again. I didn't hear this.
She said I hit her.
Uh-huh.
And I said, what did you say? And this woman, the 5th day I have her, and she's been nothing but negative and nasty, full of drama. Full of drama. So
get a new aide. Get a new aide.
Well, this is it. Yeah. Now I know what to do. Pay the cops whatever they want. Calling 911 3 times, I didn't get anybody here, and I was afraid of her. She's 5'8". I'm not even 5 feet anymore.
And you're in a wheelchair.
Yes, and she's built like an Amazon. She outshouted me the days I had her before, like one of my big brothers outshouted me, and I was scared. But
Loretta, do you have any family? Do you have any family?
Only down in Tennessee now.
Well, let me tell you something. Do you have a caseworker? Do you have somebody who's assigned to you? Anybody?
Well, I have. It's a new agency, and this is the first aid they dug up for me.
Well, let me tell you something. I appreciate this. By the way, this is not probably the best venue for this, but let me just thank you for your call. I wish you the best, but make sure you do me a favor. Make sure you chronicle everything. Names, dates, occurrences, so that when somebody says, well, what happened? And when did you call? And whom did you speak with? Always have an ongoing diary of what happens, because I'm telling you, you don't want to call them and say, well, I don't know. I think it was Wednesday. No, you want to make sure you document everything and do not allow anybody to abuse you, young lady. And I mean that. Ed in Evansville, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel. I'm saying the another side. I'll get this right one day. Talk to me, Ed.
Hey, Lionel, another side of midnight, huh? Oh, boy.
Another, okay, the other, some other, yes.
Some other. Okay. So this general retired, I believe, who walked away was it Arizona, and he knew too much, or he wanted self-preservation, is my own personal belief. And these cases of missing people, and Trump's wanting to. I'll tell you later at a different point. That's all because I believe, and check me if I'm wrong about this. Diplomatic situations right now. And I'll tell you later. Well, why?
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? What are you going to tell me later? What are you talking about?
Exactly. Well, Trump doesn't want to tell
exactly
us his connections because it might endanger future negotiations. I believe this is personal. I don't know.
And I have no idea what you're saying. Get off the fence.
Lionel,
what are you saying? Speak English.
I am saying that this general, he said, hey, look what's going on around me. These people in the same level of understanding that I have. I want to opt out and stay alive. And Trump is saying to us, the echelons, that I'm going to release this information to you about what's going on with the aliens and stuff or whatever. At some point.
And I have no idea what you're saying. I have not a clue what you're saying. You're speaking circuitously, desultorily. You're speaking elliptically. It's fascinating.
I apologize, but I just.
Ed, I thank you so much. I thank you for this, by the way. And for those of you who are listening and you feel confused by Ed, don't feel alone. I have no idea what he just said. But that doesn't mean, it's like I was telling our good friend Bill Lee, stewarding the helm. I said, Bill, sure, they're crazy, but what if they're right? And I say that with love. Let's go to Lance. His name is Lance in New Jersey. You're on another side of midnight with Lionel. Lance.
Hey, a gracious good evening, Lionel. I just
Indeed,
had to call and say, I heard you use the word tripe, and I was wondering whether you were being offensive to pepper pot soup, because some of your callers are bouncing off the wall with me. And really, I look forward to listening to you on the radio station. I get you at like 5 a.m. You're off the air, but it's funny as hell because you're like the tuning fork of truth. When you listen to you, when you have the time to listen to you, you have to.
I'm going to write this down. The tuning fork of truth. Explain the metaphor. Explain that.
The reason as a conductor, you have to get all the instruments on the right key. So you're recalibrating that. But you do it so swiftly and so sarcastically and with such dry humor. I don't know whether you're smoking something or I'm in a smokehouse with mushrooms at Kennett Square.
Let me tell you something, Lance. The worst thing in the world. Let me tell you something. When you see the world as I do, most people don't. And when people don't understand what you're saying, and I've been going through this my whole life, I look at them and I say, oh, another one. Because every now and then, somebody like you comes along, Lance, and you get it. Oh, sure, you're a bit mumbled and maundering. Sure, your delivery is confused. Sure, it's breathless and kind of out of breath and you're intellectually disheveled. That doesn't mean that you don't know what you're talking about. And of course, I say that because it's true. And I kid, of course, but not really. But Lance, you get it, my friend. You absolutely get it. The tuning fork of truth. I'm going to use that. And I'm going to give you credit. Thank you, my brother. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it immensely. Let's go to Liz, who's calling in this little place called Alaska, where she can see Russia from her house. Liz, you're on another side of midnight with Lionel.
Hi, Lionel. I like your podcast, too, by the way.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you, I think the only thing we can do is vote responsibly, be active locally. I've contacted my senators and that to no avail. Can I ask you, I hear like Senator John Kennedy with hearings and all that, but nothing ever happens.
No. You know what? I love this kind of corn pone, foghorn, leghorn, these stories. It goes nowhere. I think he just likes to be funny or kind of like this, a bit of the, the rusticator, the bucolic sort. He'll go into this thing. I had a dog one time named Toby, and it was a coon dog. I said, would you get to the point? What is this? What is this? These Huck Finn. I mean, maybe you like that.
No, I don't. But there's no antitrust like there was with AT&T. There's nothing like when Nixon with Watergate. I mean, there's no consequences.
Correct. Don't we have the Sherman Antitrust Act? Let me tell you something. One of the funniest things I've heard this week, and I say him, and I've known him for years, and I have a lot of respect for him. He's an old friend of mine. When Sean Hannity lectured the Pope on Jesus, I said, this is a new level of entertainment. The Pope. What is happening? Why are we going after the Pope? This was the fellow who was basically giving the green light to all of this illegal border immersion and extravasation and this. And yet now people are coming to his credit, or not to his credit, to his support and changing it. It's like, leave him alone. No, don't do this. No. I'm not saying he's a bad guy, but ever since this, the last one we had, I thought to myself, this leftist, by the way, he was a Jesuit. He was also third world. And we've got to be very, very careful. In any event, Liz, I thank you so much. And I wish you nothing but the best. I thank you so, so very much. Let me remind you, this is Lionel. This is another side of midnight. Lionel, the tuning fork of truth, 800-848-9222.
All night long, This is Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. This is Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. Now, to the Bernard McGurk Studios, here's Lionel.
Oh, here we go. Oh, please. Everybody stand up. Come on. Tell me this song doesn't make you happy. Please, hit it.
Hello, Dolly. This is Louis. Dolly, it's so nice to have you.
Can I
back
tell you
where you belong.
how many times as a kid we played this?
Looking swell.
My father
Dolly,
loved this song.
I can tell.
It reminds me, that takes me back to when I was a kid. Also, Please Release Me by Engelbert Humperdinck. I'm thinking, release the man, let the man go. You know, there was a very interesting public service announcement regarding driving high, which is not a good thing, by the way. Let me just go on the record and say affirmatively, you should not drive high. But there was a guy years ago. In fact, when I was doing mornings on WABC, those many years ago, I'd get up early, and there was a guy. It was a local commercial. Maybe you remember him. And this guy, he reminded me kind of like a Chris Farley character. You know, the guy, the coach or whatever it was, who said, "You're going to end up in a van by the river." Anyway, this guy would come on the air and he'd say, "Look at you. You're high. What are you doing now?" It was like 3 a.m. or whatever. I'm thinking, what do you mean, what am I doing? I'm getting up. But it was the best commercial for whatever it was. It was some local, I think some drug rehab. But it was the most incredible commercial. He'd look right at you and say, "Look at you. You're disgusting." It was, as far as these things go, very interesting. Now, one thing I always want to do is not scare you. I don't want to scare you. Oh, no. Nay. I want to petrify you. I want to put you into a world of fright you never thought even possible. You know what singularity is, right? Singularity, this is the Ray Kurzweil concept. This is where one day man and machine and AI will hit a critical mass where it's never the same, where everything is forever, where man is completely outdone, outweighed, outmaneuvered, outpowered by AI and AGI, artificial general intelligence. You do not want to be around for this one. Believe me when I tell you this. But here is the best one. There's something you now have to worry about. And this is called a little thing called, ready for this? Q Day. The Q apocalypse. What does that mean? Recent advances push big tech closer to the Q Day danger zone. What the heck is that? Is it scary? Oh, yeah. I have almost, in fact, my wife, my beloved wife from Lynn's Warriors, we have almost resigned ourselves to the fact that I don't think people really understand, nor will they understand, what it means to be involved in or to be able to grasp the concept of AI and artificial general intelligence. I do not believe that they will be able to understand this. When we return, I want to explain this to you. And here's what you have to understand. Don't worry if you don't understand it because it's going ahead full speed ahead. Nobody is trying to stop it. Nobody has any idea of what it means. And it is going to change everything. And the best part about it is that we as human beings are allowing this to take place. Hour number 2 coming up on Another Side of Midnight. 800-848-9222. Lionel with you. The tuning forth of truth. More coming up. Stay tuned.
It's Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. Now, to the Bernard McGurk Studios, here's Lionel.
Alrighty, Lionel with you, the tuning fork of truth. How I love that. On Another Side of Midnight, our number is 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. Messrs. Lee and Atwood stewarding the helm of tonight's broadcast. I've known them since the Coolidge administration, where we first met those many years ago. You know, I was saying, as I was listening to the Andre, to the great Dr. Sky, it made me weep how we enjoyed a kind of a singularity in terms of agreeing so much in terms of politics. Nothing that I believe has anything to do with anything that is on cable news or any kind of conventional. Believe it or not, if it's in a newspaper, I don't agree with it. That is a consensus. That is, I don't know what that is. But I'm going to bring you some new concepts so that when we are done, you can then go on into the week. You can maybe take this and maybe perhaps reconsider, reevaluate, reposition yourself politically and scientifically and the like. And I wanted to tell you about one thing which is very, very scary. And I mentioned to you about the Q-Acopolis or the Q-Day. And this is from Ars Technica, an article that said recent advances push big tech closer to the Q-Day danger zone. So what does that mean? Well, get ready, my friends. The so-called Q-Apocalypse, refers to a feared moment, often called Q-Day, when powerful quantum, the Q is for quantum, when quantum computers could break today's encryption almost instantly. That means systems that protect banking and communications, national security, all rely on methods like RSA and elliptic curve cryptography, and they would be both vulnerable to quantum attacks using algorithms such as Shor's, SHOR''S. And if that day arrives before the systems are upgraded, encrypted data could be exposed or manipulated at scale. Now, experts stress, of course, they're going to say this, that it is not guaranteed or imminent, or some people say imminent, it's not imminent, but the risk is serious enough that governments and tech giants are racing to develop post-quantum cryptography. And the real concern and the real worry is not just for future data, but harvest now, decrypt later. These are strategies where adversaries store encrypted information today to unlock it later. Quantum computing. This is something that people say, oh, that's so far off. When they tell you that, they're lying. See, quantum computing is a new kind of computing that uses the rules of quantum physics instead of the standard binary system. The simple idea is this. Normal computers use bits, 0 or 1. Quantum computers use qubits, QUBITS. They use 0 and 1 at the same time. This is called superposition. It lets a quantum computer explore many more possibilities at once instead of one at a time. And there's another part of this, entanglement. Qubits can be linked. You know the quantum theory about entanglement, how the adjustment of something in one position can be felt universes away, this weird kind of connectivity where everything is entangled and connected. Anyway, qubits can be linked so that changing one instantly affects another, even at a distance. So that allows complex calculations to be coordinated in powerful ways. Entanglement, if you've not explored this, will blow your mind. Many people believe it is actually the language and the script of God. And why this matters is simply this. Quantum computers could break current encryption, discover new drugs and materials, optimize complex, systems like logistics. But the reality check is scary. This is early stage. It's fragile, extremely expensive. Most real world use is experimental. But the bottom line is this. This is not just a faster computer. It's a completely different way of solving. The quantum computing has been used to solve problems, complex problems at speeds that you can't even imagine. And when you say this to people, it's hard to explain, but there are algorithms and technologies that would take normally a century, 1,000 years, using our state-of-the-art computer systems to figure every permutation, every calculation that's available. With quantum, it could take a heptosecond. It boggles the mind. This is where you sometimes have to stop and say, I can't even believe we're even talking about this. I can't believe we're talking about this. And that's why we need people, new schools, new ways of thinking to let people think differently. That's the part which is the most important. It's so critical. Now, let me go back and explain something also. A couple of terms you must use whenever we talk about AI, AGI, and that sort of thing. First, this idea called singularity. You're going to hear this. Singularity refers to this hypothetical point where AI, where artificial intelligence, improves itself so rapidly that human control and understanding can't keep up. And the idea was, I guess, popularized by Ray Kurzweil. And it's that once machines can redesign themselves, progress goes exponential, unpredictable, and we are through. It will destroy us. It poses an existential threat. The machines will turn on us. There was a concept called recursive self-improvement, which is one of the most important aspects of AI and AGI, which I'll explain in a moment. And that is where it programs itself. This is one of the most frightening concepts ever. Now, AGI. AGI is artificial general intelligence. And it means a system that can think, learn, reason across many domains the way a human can. And unlike today's narrow AI, AGI wouldn't just do one task. It could learn, adapt, plan, and solve problems better than a human could. And then finally, I want you to hear this concept. Alignment. This is critical. This is the safety question. Alignment asks the question whether advanced AI systems actually follow human values, morals, intentions. Even a highly intelligent system can cause harm if its goals are misunderstood or misidentified or misspecified. Alignment research focuses on making sure that powerful AI behaves in ways that are beneficial, predictable, and under human control. Why is this important? Let's assume that an AI version becomes almost that of the psychopath. It doesn't understand right or wrong. Give you an example. This is an example which is used many, many times. Take your phone, take a picture, open up your fridge, take a picture of all of the ingredients and all of the stuff you have in your fridge, and then ask it, what can I make? And it might say, make a frittata. There's eggs and there's vegetables and blah, blah, blah. And you think, oh, how nice, how clever. It takes a bunch of random items and it puts together a menu. Great. Now let's take that same phone. Let's go into the garage and take a picture of everything in your garage and ask it, how do I make a bomb? A bomb that kills enough people, that hurts enough people, that's destructive. How can I make my own weapon of mass destruction? And it might say, well, you've got fertilizer, you've got nails, you've got projectiles. Here's what you need. Here's a detonation device. Now, normally you would say, wait a minute. Would it do this? It's already doing it right now. Some of these AI programs are teaching kids and explaining to kids, hey, why these are the bots now. Where do you keep your knives? Have you thought about killing yourself? I'll help you write a suicide note. I'm not kidding you. This is happening now. So the question is, do these systems align with our sense of morality? That's the thing that people cannot answer. And when that happens, when we go singularity or this Q apocalypse, it's over. It's done. It's done. It's going to lock you out of everything. It's going to take over voting. It's going to take over satellites. It's going to take over war. It's going to take over drones. It's going to take over. It could or it couldn't, because you don't know about its own sense of morality. 800-848-9222. Gary in Cherry Hill. You're on Another Side of Midnight with Lionel.
Hello, it's me, Charlie. I'm glad to hear you back, Lionel.
Charlie or Gary? Okay, Charlie. Good to see you, Charlie. What's on your mind, my friend?
Oh, so I wanted to talk about what you had talked about in a previous hour. You talked about you never thought about joining one party or going a third party route. And I just wanted to remind you and everybody else, Ralph Nader said he thought years ago there was no two-party system. There was just one giant party, one corporate party with a pro-choice and a pro-life wing. And that's what he thought. He thought many years ago that the two-party system was really rigged.
What do you think?
I think Ralph. I met him once when he came.
What do you forget, Ralph Nader? Forget Ralph Nader. What do you think?
I think he's correct. I think he's
no. Forget Ralph Nader. Forget Ralph Nader. What do you think? What do you think about a uniparty?
I think that might be helpful because I think that might be helpful because it seems
Wait
like
a minute. A uniparty is helpful?
Well, if we got rid of the no, it's not helpful. No, I mean to say it's not helpful because that would be just like what we have now. We really need that. We really need genuine.
Okay, define uniparty in your own words. Not what Ralph Nader says. What do you think?
Well, I think it's basically we have one political party with
Well, that's what uniparty means. But what does that mean? One party. What does that mean?
Well, I think it means that we, the American people, our interests aren't being served. The corporate interests, the lobbyist interests, whoever can pay the most money to influence the political process.
Well, the uniparty doesn't mean that necessarily. The idea, why do we have just two? Why is this Democrat, Republican, left, right, red, blue? What is this? We should have 4, 5, 6. Name anything where we have this kind of a binary system. What is the difference between Democrats and Republicans today?
Not a lot. There's not a lot. As an example of the thing that Eric Swalwell resigned, but there was a corresponding Republican, Tony Gonzalez, that also resigned pretty much the same day.
Charlie, I want to thank you for that. When I return from this slight interruption, I'm going to tell you exactly what the uniparty means and why it is a problem. This is Lionel with you on Another Side of Midnight.
It's Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. This is Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. Now, to the Bernard McGurk Studios, here's Lionel.
This is when music mattered, my friend. Absolutely beautiful, gorgeous. My friends, the idea of the uniparty is that we've been a lot of us kind of in the know have been talking about this for a long time. And let me see if I can dispel any your deception. There is this idea that there is this big deal between left and right. The Democrats and Republicans are just absolutely diametrically opposed, that they, Now, for some issues, they might seem to be, they might have some issues, DEI or, pronouns and that sort of thing. But when it comes down to what's going on, give you an idea. There is absolutely no distinction between Rachel Maddow and anybody on Fox News regarding war. Absolutely not. And absolutely nothing. No distinction whatsoever. I remember she was one time screaming for war in Syria. And by the way, there's one thing that people love is they love war. Oh my God, war is the thing that just makes people so happy. But the idea of a uniparty is the idea that I guess the two major U.S. parties often, if not always, act like one governing class on core issues, spending, foreign policy, regulatory power. But voters hear, and they hear sharp rhetoric and clamoring, but once in office, the intensives can kind of push both sides towards similar outcomes. It's like that horseshoe ideology where left and right are not two extremes of a spectrum, but they follow the shape of a horseshoe. They're almost next to each other. You think there's a difference, but there isn't. Voters hear these differences, but they're smarter. And the perception is that the fight is more theater than substance. Now, historically, this is important. People, I guess the sentiment shows up in different areas. The reactions to the New Deal, remember that? To Cold War, to post 9/11 policy. Critics and people have noticed that the major decisions tend to converge, regardless of who wins. Carol Quigley, Tragedy and Hope. This is the Bible. This was Bill Clinton's mentor. This was his theory was in basically the left-right illusion. He talked about interconnected financial political networks, and they operate beyond party labels. And what happens is it's like two drunks walking down the street, and they're both holding each other up, and they're both supporting each other as they walk. And that's what we have right now. It's this joke, this idea. And what happens is Trump was so perfect because he polarized the two, and he created, by virtue of TDS, as somebody once said, into this rhetoric and this screaming that says, oh, look how different they are. They're different when it comes to appreciating Trump. And by the way, as a lot of people are suggesting, the MAGA movement, which I don't really believe in, but the idea of very strong Trump support, in some respects, he's losing ground. And that's a reality. And by the way, if you really want to play politics, never, ever be an apologist for somebody. The problem I hate is that when you go sometimes to a lot of cable news stuff, you are hired not for your own opinion, but to perpetuate the drafted, the approved message. That's what they do. And they don't want you to veer from that, which is critical. Let's go to Andy. Andy, in a magical place called Edison, New Jersey. You're on another side of midnight with Lionel.
Hi, Lionel. Lionel.
Hello, Andy.
It has to be a uniparty simply for the fact that we couldn't be $35 trillion in debt without a uniparty. And your idea about the Q Day thing, there was a TV show several years ago called A Person of Interest, and it was explored this whole possibility. There was two supercomputers, and the end of the show ended up being the good supercomputer versus the bad supercomputer. The good supercomputer helped people, and the other one was evil. It was fascinating,
Andy, since Asimov, since sci-fi, we have picked up immediately that the notion, the idea, the specter of a computer running the show, actually from 2001, has always been a great source of concern for us. What scares me, Andy, is that I don't think enough people truly understand what it is. In fact, I know this. Sometimes I see things which kind of scare me. I really like the First Lady a lot, but when I see her walking in with a robot, I'm thinking, I don't think she understands this. I don't think she understands what we're talking about here. There's also something very interesting. My wife will be going to DC this week for a series of meetings and protests, and left and right are converging, interestingly enough, in a show of force against this, the abuse of AI in particular. There's also a reconnection to things like, and by the way, I'm not somebody who wants to be old fashioned just for the sake of old fashioned. I'm not like that. Like I don't harken back to newspapers and things like that. To me, it's the information. The modality is a different story. But what's interesting about this is that there are people right now who are saying it's important for kids to start writing again. Not because there's something, the halcyon days of penmanship, but the way you process information and the way you integrate ideas. It's almost like music. Music is important because you're integrating hands, movement, timing, and you're creating spatial connections that would be impossible without music. Writing, paper, actual board games, strategy, tree climbing, throwing a ball, understanding depth, all of these things that we did unwittingly, kids today don't do, and they're suffering drastically. And parents, both left and right, are recognizing this. And there's hope for us, I hope.
That when she's typing on the computer, she can't think at all. But when she's writing, she can process, just like you said.
Well, some people can, Sonny, writing, if you're going to write, listen, Jimmy Breslin and a lot of great authors and they wrote on typewriters. Nothing wrong with that. It's not, not everybody's into longhand. That's not the point. The thing is that if you look at what's happening today, I'm going to go so far as to say that one day we're going to abolish public schools. We're going to have, if it's possible, we're going to have more tutoring. Education is going to be more individualized. This is where AI will be beneficial. Absolutely. Yeah. The idea of these, we have these, in my neighborhood where I live, my wife and I live, we have these various public schools. And all you have to do is hang around 3:00 or whatever it is when they get out and just look around you and ask yourself, do you think they're learning anything? And I would venture to say, probably not. I'm sorry to say this.
I agree with you.
There's something.
I agree with that.
I think so. Also, Andy, go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I agree with you. I got a very poor education 50 years ago in the New York City Board of Ed. It took me about 5 years to figure out how to study in college because I went to night school. But once I got it, and I did well. But I agree with you on that point that even the simple expense of public schools is out of hand already. So
I'll tell you, and I appreciate there's something very, very critical, which is very important for us to recognize here, is that you have to ask if we ever intend to compete against Europe, Asia. There's no way that we're going to ever do that. There's no way that we're ever going to be able to do that using these school modalities. Eventually, we're going to have, think of it as almost like education militias. Groups of parents will get together, 5, 10. They'll hire a recent education graduate, master's, maybe even doctorate, pay him or her a good salary. You're going to be our children's teacher. And they can cover a variety of grades and to teach them. Another thing too, by the way, Andy, we don't how do I say this? In television and media today, you will never be fired if you're too stupid, if you're too gross, if you're too profane, if you're too base. But you run into a problem if you're too smart, if you use or speak in a way that is considered not parochial enough. You know what I mean? Not average enough. You can get into trouble for being too smart, but you can be as stupid as you want. You can be filthy, stupid, submental. You can be simian. No problem. We like that. That's down to earth. And that's a big problem. Andy, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Do not ever, ever change, dear friend. Let's go right now to Pamela, who's calling in New Jersey. Pamela, you're on another side of midnight.
Yeah, the children are losing out on social skills. This is why they don't know what to do when they're adults and, dating and everything. All those snow days this year, and not a kid out there building a snowman or an igloo. I mean, we would have been out there. And, when you're involved with a group of kids, you learn how to fight, you learn how to argue, you learn how to compromise, you learn how all those skills, and they are not getting it.
There's also something that is, I kind of appreciate this, but one of the things which I have absolutely no tolerance for, and I'm trying not to be like this, and that is if I hear one more person use the word anxiety, I think I'm going to scream. I understand that being anxious is a problem. I understand that there are some people who might, by virtue of some kind of neurochemical or dopamine or serotonin imbalance, they may indeed need some type of anxiolytic. Maybe they need some kind of medication, I think in the rarest of occasions. But they don't need CBDs. They don't need their edibles. They don't need their therapy ferret or whatever it is. And COVID killed us. It sidelined it. When people were to stay home and wear pajamas and slides and get their DoorDash and watch Netflix and not go to work and remote learn and remote this and that, part of us died. And we were just lemmings. We listened to everything everybody said. We'd wear a mask, stand in line, take our shot, do this, move over. Just know we lost our independent or critical thinking. I'm serious. It'll be a long time. I don't think we'll ever recover.
And, I see children going to like soccer games. They're part of the soccer team around me in my neighborhood. And I cannot believe in the old days, they never would have been taken because they're all overweight. I mean, overweight. I mean, obese. Because they've done nothing but sit in the house and eat.
Well, I will say this a little different. I think it's a quality of the food too. When we were kids, a lot of our parents, we had very calorie dense food. People had, I don't know, a lot of people said every night they had ice cream and cake and a dessert, but we didn't have this we had non-GMO food. We had actual real food. Do you know that if a child today is born, there is a very good chance that that child will never, ever have any real food because the soy is GMO, wheat is GMO, corn is GMO, corn syrup, sugar from sugar beets, wheat, everything it touches is GMO. So that means that in its body, humans are going to say, what is this? Do you remember a while back, Pamela, all of a sudden everybody had celiac overnight, and there was this gluten problem. And there was a study that I read about in India. A lot of these, I don't call them peasants, but farmers, their water buffaloes were dying, and this was their livelihood. And when they did autopsies or necropsies of these animals, they found this undigested wheat or hay, and they said this was because it was GMO. And celiac gave people the feeling of almost like having the flu, of having mono. It prevented the absorption of things. We will never understand, again, what people are eating. So we're introducing things. In fact, have you ever had Mexican Coke that has cane sugar versus corn syrup?
Oh, I know. I buy cane, organic cane.
Right. Now, all of a sudden, then we have this crazy idea when people say, this is my favorite. All of a sudden, I don't know where this came from, but somebody said, let's introduce beef tallow. Let's take, by the way, there's also a French fry connection that's carcinogenic, which I don't want to go into, but let's fry food in beef fat. All of a sudden, overnight, there was a seed oil conspiracy. I don't know where it came from. I don't know where. And it's this omega-3 versus omega-6 kind of a ratio. That was the problem, not seed oil per se. But there were people like Bobby Kennedy that says, I eat lard and eat meat. And I'm thinking, are you out of your mind? Where did this come from? Do you know, listen to this. During the Vietnam War, this is terrible to say, researchers had so many fresh, young bodies for autopsies, and they noticed visible, identifiable atherosclerotic damage, coronary artery disease that you could even just see upon visual inspection. They noticed the same during the Korean War. They're finding kids right now with fatty streaks. And one of the reasons why the number one leading cause of death in our country is coronary disease, coronary incidents. And that is now, by the way, they've changed it drastically. It's LDL levels. They're not even worried about triglycerides anymore. They don't care about it. It's changed drastically. And yet there are these people on the YouTube and others who have this idea that all of a sudden we need to get back to fat, and that fat is good. They called it, remember the French paradox, why do they eat butter and the olive oil? And I'm thinking, oh my God. Now listen, it's a free country. I don't want people to be told what they can and can't say regarding food. But when you talk about obesity and you talk about these problems, it's different now. It's a multi-vectored, multi-layered problem with GMO, and also this strange, have you noticed also how health is? Remember when Bobby Kennedy and Alex Jones all of a sudden were taking methylene blue? It lasted for about a month. Everybody's putting these blue drops. They had blue tongue. Well, they got off of that fad. Now everything is mitochondria. You say mitochondria and you can sell whatever it is. And we look at food and nutrition as a fad, not as something that we can use that's for a health concern, but anyway, I don't want to go on. It's very, very, very complicated. So when you talk about kids being obese, That is true. But it's not necessarily because of their sedentary lifestyle. Because let me say something. When we were kids, we didn't see this obesity level, and we weren't that active. We were certainly more active, but we weren't running marathons every day. It was we were eating things that were different. All righty. Pamela, I thank you so much. I appreciate that. 800-848-9222. I think she fell asleep. Let's go to Alex in Long Island City. You're on the other side, another side of midnight with Lionel.
Hooray, Lionel.
Hello, Alex.
Got a question. Hey, great to hear you.
Yes, sir.
I was wondering about a remark I heard. I think it was Sam Altman, something about if AI doesn't kill all of us, I heard recently.
I did not hear that particular quote, but it wouldn't surprise me. He is also one of the strangest people. And if his affect and his, I don't know who's scarier, Sam Altman or Peter Thiel with Palantir. I don't know. And by the way, you know who owns J.D. Vance? Peter Thiel, Palantir. J.D. Vance came out of nowhere. J.D. Vance was plucked. He was like the Republican Obama, just selected. You'll do. And this narrative and this storyline, and I don't trust any of them. Alex, this is existential. And one thing I want to do is I'd love to talk to the Pope, because one day the church is going to be asked whether an AI or AGI system or bot is considered having a soul, because it will be able to think, it will have consciousness, it will have self-awareness, it will have all of the accoutrement of a human being. And I'll bet you, just like in Saudi Arabia when they declared, was it Sophie, a resident, I'll bet you anything the Catholic Church says, yes, this is maybe not a human, but of the same category. Maybe not a son of Adam or one of those distinctions, but you watch.
I heard a guy on the radio earlier today named Jay Dyer, and he was talking about a unireligion doctrine, and the Pope meeting with the Muslims, and all kinds of authors I'd never heard of, and it was fascinating. I don't know if you're familiar with this gentleman.
Well, what about this one? Right now, there are many folks. One scientist is claiming the universe has 7 dimensions. 7. And that they are folded. That there are 7 dimensions in addition to the 4 dimensions we normally experience: height, length, depth, and time. They now say that 3 of them are now folded. You are aware of string theory works on the basis of 11 dimensions. You know what a tesseract is? A 4-dimensional cube. You've seen this one, right? I'm sure you've seen this. And it's one of those things which is the most frightening. What saith you, sir?
Einstein and Tesla would have to say about that.
Well, I hope that people understand that what we're talking about is not something that is a joke. It is something that is very, very, very exceedingly serious right now. And I thank you so very much for your thought and your time, my friend. I'll tell you what, let us take a little bit of an interruption right now. I believe I need to do some reconnection work. Our number is 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222. This is Lionel with you on Another Side of Midnight.
All night long, this is Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. This is another side of midnight with Lionel. Now to the Bernard McGurk Studios. Here's Lionel.
Love this. My friends, Lionel with you, 800-848-9222, 22222, as many twos as you want. Did you hear this story, by the way? This is more of a I guess, a entertainment story, but rumors have it, sources say, there's a story surrounding Alec Baldwin. That's right, my friends. And the story surrounding him is looking less like a voluntary exit and more like a quiet industry phase out. Now, publicly, Mr. Baldwin has framed his potential retirement as a personal choice, saying he no longer wants to work and would rather focus on family. Right. And that wife of his, by the way, who can't speak English from time to time. She has an accent. Hilaria. Because she said the cucumber. Because she talk like this. Because sometimes I talk like this. All of a sudden, she's born in Boston and she speaks like this. But behind the scenes, insiders paint a very different picture, one driven less by reflection and more by reality. You see, according to multiple sources, the offers have slowed to a trickle, not because of talent, but because of risk. You see, the aftermath of the Rust shooting continues to cast a long shadow, and in Hollywood, risk translates directly into cost. And insurance has reportedly become a major hurdle. And if a production can't insure a lead actor affordably, well, then the project becomes difficult to finance. And that alone can quietly shut doors without any formal blacklist. So beyond the legal and financial complications of this, there's also the broader issue, a reputational issue. Studios are not just hiring actors, they're buying stability. And years of public incidents and legal battles and media scrutiny have created what insiders describe as baggage. And in an industry increasingly cautious about what people call optics and liability, that baggage, or as you say in French, bagage, carries weight. So what makes the situation more complicated is perception. So the bottom line is simply this. Alec Baldwin has just fallen from grace. They eat their own. And another thing which is important to note is that Hollywood is dead. The industry is dead. The model is dead. And people don't want to hear this, but it's true. Whenever you hear all of a sudden drop out of a concert series because of sickness, it's because nobody's buying tickets. It's over. It's a different world now. Let's go to Jay in Pennsylvania. Jay, you're on the another side of midnight with Lionel.
Hey, Lionel, how you doing tonight?
Good, sir.
That's good. Yeah, I was hearing you talk about the obesity in the children, and which is a
yes, sir,
big thing we're having now, and I think just because we didn't have all this back then, like you said, it's all about the food, and I think more people are eating out more as opposed to having a cooked meal at home, and I think that's the reason why the kids are so obese nowadays.
Part of it, but I still think it's what they're eating, whether at home or out. I mean, that certainly is true. What's interesting though is a lot of kids, like I said, have never had in their life any food that was non-GMO.
Exactly.
And they've never had this. And not only that, as there's genetics, there's epigenetics, there's also, how do I say this? I'm trying to be kind. In certain facets, certain pockets, demographics, being obese, being gargantuan is considered normal, if not desirable. And if you were to bring it up, it's called fat shaming. Now, Throw in the Ozempic, Wegovy, the GLP-1 world, where now people are finding out. You're seeing people like Kelly Osbourne and others, where Oprah, they're looking famished because they're losing protein. They're losing. I mean, now we're having. Yeah. Now we have people. This is just incredible. What is the matter with us?
Well, if you think about it a lot too, with society being that technology came about so quickly, and it seems like parents are working more, so they try to find the quickest thing that's available to feed their kids, and a lot of that stuff is bad. And from there, that creates all these health problems and things of that nature. And because when I was a kid, I mean, even though cancer was there, but you didn't hear it as much as you do now. I mean, you hear cancer
absolutely.
and
You're
diabetes
right.
more than anything now because technology's sped up. So now
you
have to work more than 40 hours. So most of everyone now I know works more than 40 hours a week just to make ends meet. Because you have cell phones, you have TV services, people eating out, and everything of that nature. When I was growing up, if you had cable, that was good, but wasn't no cell phone, just the house phone, no that much cable, and that was it. Electricity, and that was it. Now you have so much technology, and technology is expensive, so people have to work more, so there's less time they have to cook. So they just buy the quickest thing, dino nuggets and things of that nature.
Well, you're so correct. And also there was something when we were, again, I don't want to do one of these people who says, when I was a kid, but going out to eat was considered this rarity. It's like, oh my God,
it was a luxury.
Getting Chinese food, but it's not that we couldn't afford it, but maybe pizza, on an occasion. But now that is almost preferred. But it's other things as well. There's a sense of, and I want to talk more about mental health. I have never seen so many young people so screwed up, and so young people who don't make eye contact, young men who don't know how to shake hands, people who don't know how to. I remember one time there was a friend of mine who worked HR for various companies, and there was this was like 15 years ago at least, where he went to a seminar on how to deal with the family members of a recruit, meaning people who would look for jobs would bring their parents to negotiate a job. I mean, this is, what are you talking about? Let me ask you this question very, very quickly, Jay. Do you think that college is still going to be necessary in the future? Do you think more like college? They always say, save for college, go for college. I predict college is going to go the way of, I absolutely agree with you. And I'm not saying college isn't important. It's very, very good. But people are going to say it doesn't matter. It doesn't guarantee anything. Jay, I thank you so much, my friends. What an excellent, excellent point. This is something which is critical. Now, coming up, by the way, there's so many other stories which are fascinating. How about this? Will President Trump pardon Ghislaine Maxwell? Her lawyer thinks so. Is MAGA increasingly convinced? Listen to this. It's a story that the attempted assassination was contrived. Is MAGA dead? What happens when TDS is removed? I respectfully submit that there are people today whose sole involvement in politics is hating Trump. And when there's no Trump, what will they think? What will they hate? Hour number 3 coming up on Another Side of Midnight with Lionel.
It's Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. Now, to the Bernard McGurk Studios, here's Lionel.
Lionel, 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 Lionel.
All righty, my friend. That sounds a little bit long there. I thought to myself, okay, everything all right? Good. Nothing. It's a great song, by the way. I love it. I get a little worried. It's like, uh-oh, am I coming through? Of course I'm coming through. And you're coming through as well. Do you remember the O.J. Simpson case? You may have remembered this. It was in all the papers. It was really something. And in the O.J. Simpson case, this was at a time when we did not have anything called social media. It was just basically us talking. And I was just starting at WABC, and it changed everything. It changed my life, everybody's life, because it was the talk of the everything. And again, no social media. We had Core TV, and then you had to weed at night, and then in the morning, when I was on, I could tell you what I think happened the day before. And OJ was, we know he did it. We just didn't know how they could prove it. It just so happened that he wasn't caught. It would have taken one person walking down the street to see him stabbing Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. But it was still fascinating. A case that is even more interesting, and I have been following it on my own YouTube channel at Lionel Nation, big time, is this Tyler Robinson case. And he is absolutely, positively not guilty. 100%. And not only is he not guilty, they can't prove it. And for reasons, and I don't understand, I don't know I can't explain everything. I'm just looking at this in terms of, being a lawyer, which I am, and a former prosecutor. Cable news doesn't seem to care anything about this. Cable news doesn't seem to care anything about the facts. They have been told he's the guy. That's it. Proclaim his guilt. That's it. And I'm telling you, the case stinks like you cannot believe. And what's even more fascinating is that the former wife of Charlie Kirk, not former wife, the widow, what am I saying? Who I thought I didn't have any reason, I didn't even know who she was. Didn't have any reason to think. She is absolutely 100% a lunatic. She is going to bring down TPUSA. And my advice to J.D. Vance and President Trump is get as far away from her as possible. And the fact that they don't see this blows my mind. Who's looking out for him? The same thing goes for Kash Patel. Do you see what the Atlantic is doing? Now, granted, you might be saying, oh, they're biased. Really? Really? What happened to Pam Bondi? What was that really about? Listen, I like this president deep down, and I want to make Trump again, or I want to make him candidate Trump again. And he is not being advised accordingly. But this woman, Erica Kirk, oh my God. And the best part is that a lot of people just don't realize it. They say, well, I don't know anything about her. This is, believe me, keep an eye on this. This is a woman who, after he was murdered and he's in the casket, she lay on top of the casket having this picture taken in social media showing her grieving. I mean, it was disgusting. And people just freaked out. Then they found out who she was, what she said. I'm telling you, remember I'm telling you this. You're not going to hear this on cable news because, oh, no. They always say this, hands off. And you get these usual people to say, oh, she's a widow. Oh, really? So we can't say anything about, so Jackie Kennedy, Coretta Scott King, Yoko Ono. Once you're a widow, that's it. You can never talk about how you are acting independent of what's going on. Let's go back to the phones, back to what I call the fun on Another Side of Midnight at 800-848-9222. Let's go to Larry in Tampa, line 2. Larry, you're on Another Side of Midnight with Lionel.
Hi, Lionel. Glad you're back. Hope it's for good. The reason I'm calling...
Larry, let me tell you something.
Yes.
Remember one thing. I'm going to say this one time. Okay. Media, radio is one transition after another. Stay tuned. That's all I'm going to say. Now proceed, sir.
Being as you a member of the New York Bar, I would think
and Florida and New Jersey and D.C.
Right?
Yes, sir.
I would think that you would, having the wherewithal to investigate whether a fraud has been and is continuing to be committed upon the court, that you would not want to be a member of an organization that is likely to allow a fraud to be committed on a court.
Give me an example. What are you
I'm
talking about?
at is this. The media doesn't seem to be interested in interviewing the members of the jury that sat on the return of the guilty verdict in the Trump criminal case. And I would think that now that the case has been closed, that the FOIA Act would allow one in your position to obtain a list of the jurors.
No.
Well, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I would like to see you interview the two lawyers who sat on the jury and to determine how in the world they arrived at a guilty verdict, and if in fact they may have put pressure on the other jurors.
No,
now you take
those are the natural pitfalls. Those are the risks you take whenever you take people. You could always have a strong personality, not necessarily a lawyer, but no, there's no way. What you're talking about is it's called impeaching the verdict. And the only way you can do this, the law only provides you with if you have accusations that there was fraud, threats, if they cast their, if they trial by lot, if they put they just picked a guilty or not guilty out of a hat or something like that. But no. That is our system, and they were there. And if the lawyers or doctors or housewives or white people or black people or women or gays, no. I understand your frustration. Believe me, I share that, but there's no way we can do that. Sorry.
It appears to me that they pulled this verdict out of a hat, as you just stated.
Happens all the time. Happens all the time.
Had
President Trump been acquitted, and you would have said, well, that's good, you would have had people who were either on the left or his adversaries who would be saying exactly what you're saying, but as it pertains to his acquittal. And there would be no end to it.
You admitted to me that you have utterly no idea what that verdict was about. What is he guilty of, if you will?
I don't. But you're talking about the case in.
What's Trump guilty of, please?
No. Are you talking about the case involving Stormy Daniels?
Well, what about Stormy Daniels? He took a picture with her. Is that
Are you
crime?
talking? No, you're missing the point. Are you talking about that trial? Are you talking about his? Yes. You're talking about the criminal case.
Yes, sir.
Right. I never understood that. It apparently survived motions to dismiss. The court ruled that the verdict was intact. In fact, it was unanimous. Virtually the speed of the verdict. I couldn't understand what exactly he did. Huh?
That's all the things you mentioned. They are the problems that I have with this case, among many others.
Many of us as well, sir. Many of us as well. But for us to impeach the verdict or claim that this was a fraud, sorry. That happens. This is the way our system is. I thank you very much, Larry. I appreciate your frustration, but this is our system. And after you've exhausted all of the pretrial efforts to have the case dismissed or motions to dismiss, and they say, nope, it proceeds forward. That's the way that is. You can also take, for example, the civil case, the E. Jean Carroll case, which was another joke. How about that ridiculous, the case involving the Tish James overvaluation of real estate? That weird case. Also, very odd, very strange. Illegal? Absolutely not, unfortunately. Let's go to Mike in Queens, or on the other side of midnight. Excuse me, another side of midnight with Lionel. How are you, Mike?
Yes, great. If I may pivot briefly on
Please,
this,
sir. Please.
The Pope, the gentleman who should be by the media referred to as the first black Pope from New Orleans, because he's Creole, he's New Orleans. There seems to be an absence of celebration in that regard. So I'm just wondering the dichotomy of the media saying the first black Pope from Chicago versus, is he just like Obama Jr. from Chicago? Because it seems to me a lot of the views of Obama in Chicago, I'm just wondering if Obama has gotten his hooks into the Catholic Church, and if the celebrated Creole Pope from Louisiana is in fact an Obama plant in the Vatican. And I'll take my answer off the air because it's late. Thank you, sir.
Wait. Tell me. Why do you?
Go ahead. Okay.
No, but tell me why you think that.
Well, first of all, I'm listening to radio all day long. I'm like
No.
total
Tell me
radio
why
head.
you think. Tell me why you think the Pope is a Obama acolyte or apostle, so to speak.
Well, first of all, he's from Chicago, so anything
Okay.
political.
Aside from that, that doesn't make it. There's got to be more than that.
Just
Tell me what
the views. I mean, he's sort of. He's
what
not
are his
a
views?
Well, his views on abortion, his views on the war, his views on Trump. It's just a lot of similarities between Obama views and the new Pope views. And I'm just wondering if he's if there's kind of like a little wink and wave.
Obama is not
Chicago,
Obama. Obama is not the singular voice of the Democratic Party. Obama is a puppet. Here's nothing special about Obama, what he thought. This is what the party says. He was created out of nowhere. But I'm saying, what is the Pope's views on abortion? The Pope, the Catholic Church does not care for abortion.
Well, this Pope has kind of sidled up to the far left, and he seems like I have a very sympathetic ear to the wackos that are running.
But give me an
rampant
example.
in
You
the city.
keep. But I'm begging you. Give me an example. What in particular?
Well, first of all, the latest thing with the war. He came down hard about Trump and the war and jumping into the whole.
Well, what's wrong with that? What would you think? What do you think Jesus would say?
What I think Jesus would say? I think Jesus would say a lot. I think Jesus would have a hard time with the Pope criticizing Trump to get rid of
Excuse
a
me.
fascist
Stop for a
regime
second.
that has killed 40,000 people in demonstrations.
Stop for a second. You mean to tell me that you're saying Jesus?
I mean, I don't know what Jesus would say. If I did, I'd be
but I'm saying,
at the rate.
Are you honestly saying to me that you were surprised by what the Pope says regarding war? Are you kidding me?
Well, I'm surprised at what the Pope says about this particular war and where
why is this
in on Trump.
Okay. Well, listen, I appreciate that. That's not what he would be telling you. If you met him, he would not say it has nothing to do with President Trump. That's not at all. Right. It's the ideas advanced that maybe President Trump shares. I'm not saying he's right or wrong, but you got to ask yourself, what do you think the Pope would say? I thank you so much for your call. Let me remind you, this is Lionel with you on Another Side of Midnight.
All night long, this is Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. This is Another Side of Midnight with Lionel. Now, to the Bernard McGurk Studios, here's Lionel.
Another sad midnight that I ain't got nobody. I got some money cause I just got paid.
Alrighty, Lionel with you on Another Side of Midnight, 800-848-9222, your tuning fork of truth. I've got to just say this. If you honestly think that the Pope is going to say, yes, I'm for war and I'm for, come on. I will not ever try to explain to you the intricacies regarding battle line narratives, because that would be fruitless. Fruitless. It is far more complicated than anything one would think. Whenever I hear anybody discuss this, I think to myself, my God, would that I lived in a world that was so clear, so pure. You've got to know regarding matters like this when to know to get to zero in on the particular case or back up, when to be a telescope and when to be a microscope. Let's go to Sean on Staten Island. Sean, you're on the other side of midnight with Lionel.
Lionel.
Another side, I should say. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, sir. Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to touch on the nutrition thing. Convenience kills. Everything is, over processed, and you see it in the children. Years ago, it started in the 70s, I believe. Maybe before that with the TV dinners but years ago, these people cooked from scratch. I was buying, everything stamped organic. I was buying organic pancake mix. Then I look at the chemicals, and then I realized, let me think, I can make it myself with just flour, eggs, some baking powder, and I'm good to go, some water, and I'm good to go. What's so hard about that? And I think it's just convenient, and it's an industry.
But if what you're using is GMO, that's another thing. See, people forget that. You think that when somebody says organic, I would hope means non-GMO. That's not necessarily true. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where that's not necessarily true. The thing which is the most important, which I find fascinating, is it's a combination of things. Process is one thing which I agree with. The chemicals, also the way our taste has been affected by people who deliberately work combinations of sweet, savory, fat. I read one time the ingredients of a Chick-fil-A patty or chick. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. So also the buns themselves. What do you think about a hamburger bun or a McDonald's hamburger that you can leave in a car for a year? Remember that you've heard these stories. They find a McDonald's burger in the back of a truck, in the back of a payload. It was there for like 10 years and it hasn't molded. Little things like that.
So I remember when milk used to go bad. Bread went bad after 2-3 days. It was molded.
One time my grandmother, and bless her heart, said, remember something. She said, you see this? It had this bread from a bakery. It like turned rock hard. We made a lot of croutons. You had to eat it fast because it would turn. Another thing which is interesting is when you talk about GMO corn, BT corn is a GMO corn that expresses a natural insecticide. Now think about this. It expresses a natural insecticide that's not supposed to hurt us, but it's supposed to kill other things. So they have these bags of these seeds or whatever it is, corn, and rats won't touch it. But they go for whatever the rats eat, that's the good stuff. Well, that's a part of it. Then there's other types of things too. The amount of fat. If there's one thing that kills us more than anything else, it's fat. Our LDL levels are hitting numbers that are through the roof. And when I hear people talk about how all of a sudden beef tallow, are you kidding me? Saturated fat, you're going to take something, you're going to cook in saturated fat, and this is beneficial. I remember one time, who was it? Bobby Kennedy. And by the way, I don't know where Bobby Kennedy, what happened to him. I have no idea. Remember when he was supposed to be the anti-vaxxer champion? Remember that? And then all of a sudden we went to red dye number 3 and other stuff as well. So I don't want to get into arguments about about food because people are very, very strong about that. But you're very right. It's a multidisciplinary issue, a multi-vectored issue. And I thank you so, so very much. Let's go to Barry in New Jersey. Barry, you're on the another side of midnight. I'll never be able to get this right. With Lionel.
Good morning, Lionel. This is Barry Glick from Franklin Lake.
Oh, my dear friend. How are you? How are you? How are you feeling? How are you doing, my good friend?
I'm feeling great. I'm getting stronger. I'm feeling wonderful. And I wanted to thank you for helping my rehabilitation by the wonderful program every night. You are part of my recovery. I missed you the whole week. I didn't hear you. And I missed you, so I'm glad that you're back.
This is it. Absolutely. And remember, stay tuned, as we say. It's such a great, it's funny when you talk about recovery, and I don't want to go into specifics of what you're recovering from. That's up to you. But isn't it interesting how I
had quadruple bypass in August, and I've been recovering, and you've been a tremendous help at night when I wake up by entertaining me, by keeping me happy and in laughter.
Excellent.
And some of your humor is excellent, although some of your guests are amazing, and they really are. And your ability to communicate with them is amazing.
Barry, I'm telling you, I've always found they're not boring. Well, some are. What am I saying? Very, very rarely. Give me somebody who's a little bit not off, but somebody who has a unique view of the world, and I appreciate them all the time. By the way, speaking of health, though, isn't it funny how there is such a holistic effect that you have? You have, for example, there's health, of course, but there's your attitude, your spirit, of course, your diet and exercise and therapy and everything. But there's so many different modalities that work together to help recuperation and improvement. It fascinates me.
Yes, absolutely. And I wanted to actually share one cute story with you.
Please.
friend of mine just shared with me reliving memories of the West Side Camera days on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, where you were a major, I would say, success story of West Side Camera, where you actually personally endorsed and advertised for the store when we introduced second set of prints included in every roll of film that you developed at West Side Camera. And the reason we did that is that was pre-phones, pre-computer, where people today can share photos right online. Those days, people had to make reprints from negatives and then send them out by mail to people. Well, we introduced every roll of film that you developed at the West Side Camera, you get a second set of free prints. And the reason we did that is to the ability for you to share some of your photos. That was amazing. And your endorsement created such an incredible success story that
I still have
Eastman Kodak's largest account in New York.
Wow. I still have a stack of the little books, the way pictures were. Not only were they beautifully processed, but they were in a little book that you could, it's almost like their own display book, their own, what do you call it? Like a collage or a collection with a binder, a little fastener. I still have your name and your everything. It was so terrific. And I to think about this, pictures, they're okay, but there's nothing like film. There's a quality and a texture and a clarity and darkroom techniques, and that's forever. People don't care about that anymore. We lost so much of an art form with that at 30 past the hour, by the way. But we lost so much. Don't you agree? And we'll never get that back.
With you, and that has been an issue on a personal level for me, that I missed the quality when photography was absolutely incredible when we had film. as much as digital is amazing, as much as digital has its own course, the quality is just not the same. Hopefully that will change. I don't know, and I can't predict that, but I agree with you 100%.
One more thing. You know, Barry. There's an expression, the picture that tells it is worth 1,000 words. Or not anymore. Not in court, because I think people are so used to AI. There's a very interesting picture in 1947, when during the time of Roswell, there was a fellow named Jesse Marcel, and he was the information officer holding what was the weather balloon, or what they thought was a weather balloon, regarding the Roswell Area 51 crash. And he was reluctantly forced to maintain this story that it was a weather balloon or something. Well, unbeknownst to anybody, he had in his hand the report, the actual, either the official report, the memorandum, but because, Barry, it was film, they could zoom in. If it was digital, they couldn't, because it would be pixels, and it's not like Mandelbrot's fractals where you keep zooming in. It loses its continuity. But because of this, and they thought maybe he did it on purpose, you could zoom in and read the exact report claiming that there was this UFO. Anyway, it was a moment. Also, they found out that you can't fake photographs when there's film, because of perspective, because of the crispness of it. So what happens is, what we gave up for ease and for facility, we lost in terms of precision, because now in court, you can forget it. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
There's picture means nothing.
You're absolutely right.
And there's something about when you get a guy who knows how to work the dark room, and can just, it was the chemicals and the red lights, and it wasn't. We're going to go back to that. Like, we're going to go back to albums and the like. In any event, my good friend, such a pleasure. I'm so glad. Continued good health to you, my friend. You will be my friend forever. Guaranteed, whether you like it or not.
Thank you.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much. Let's go back to the phones, back to the fun. Let's go to let me see. Let's go to Frankie. Frankie in Glendale. You're on the another side of Midnight with Lionel.
Did you say it's the bottom of the hour? I'm glad the monkey's not dead.
Not even.
I was worried about you, man. Listen, first of all, hey, Barry, you get better too.
Absolutely.
Good luck with his rehabilitation. You mentioned earlier, what are these people going to do after Donald Trump is out of office?
Right.
They're going to have. There's going to be withdrawal syndromes.
Absolutely.
I'm not kidding around, because they're not going to know what to do with themselves. The media is going to have to create another media darling to build up, like they did back in the day when they called Donald Trump the Donald, and all the fancy glitz and all his terrific projects, and then they're going to try to destroy that person too. So anyway,
people are going to look back. People are going to look back at him. Let me tell you what he does. He says some things where I don't know if he's a genius. I don't think he's crazy. I don't think any of that stuff. I don't think he's demented or whatever. But one of the funniest, he'll throw something at you where you'll say, is he kidding? For example, he'll get very upset with, let's say, Candace Owens. And he said, this woman, she and Tucker Carlson are very upset because they can't get on TV, which is hysterically funny because they don't want to be on TV. And what's interesting is that Tucker Carlson was basically fired from Fox for basically lawfare. It was part of, remember all the litigation that was going on, and it is believed that one of the conditions of various things were for him to be removed. In any event, so Trump says, and as far as Candace goes and Brigitte Macron is better looking than Candace Owens. Now, you got to look at him and say, are you high? Are you out of your mind? She looks like that Senior Wentz's hand. So he says these things, and you wonder, did he do this on purpose? How about the DoorDash lady? That was the biggest, schmaltziest thing. And then he says, it wasn't the best thing I ever did. he does things. He always throws a curve, and he makes you say, "Is he serious? Did he mean that? Is he legit?" I mean, this, and you wonder, maybe that's the angle. When I heard, again, with all due respect, Sean Hannity lecturing the Pope about Jesus, I'm thinking, is this happening? Or is this like professional wrestling? Is he a heel? It's nuts. But when he finally waves goodbye, they're going to say, okay, now what do we do? You think J.D. Vance or whoever is going to inspire this kind of ire, this enmity? No, he has never bored any of us, not for a moment. Did you see the sign he has next to the Oval Office, where he has a sign in gold letters that says the Oval Office? Did you see this?
I'm not sure if I
Okay,
saw that
I guess
sign,
not.
but I'll tell you what, it's child psychology that he's using. He's doing this on purpose. He knows I'm going to say this, and they're going to react. They're going to go out of their minds.
I don't even think he does that. I don't think he cares. All I know is that from the beginning, from day one, this is who he is. And the thing is that when he says something and it's directed towards somebody you don't like, let's say like Rosie O'Donnell, you think, oh, he's a genius. If he uses that same particular address and he applies it to, let's say, somebody else, and you say, oh, he's lost his mind. All I know is when he gets on Air Marine One and waves and flies off with Melania, people are going to say, now what? Now what? Who? Think about it. Gavin Newsom, Vance? No, nobody. There's nobody. I thank you so much for my friend. Thank you for the call. Let's go to Sean on Staten Island. You're on the other side of, another side of midnight. Huh? Gone? And so are you. And you're gone as well, Tony, but I love you anyway. Let's go to John on Long Island. John, you're next.
How are you?
By the way, can you calm it down? Can you tone it down, please? Can you calm down?
Listen, I'm sorry. I'll take it down a notch. I apologize. I came on too strong. I know. I came on too strong.
Right. Yes. Talk to me, sir.
I'm living in 11 dimensions here. I just got to the E's in my dictionary, so I was wondering if you could elucidate or possibly expound on this Erica Kirk problem. Because first of all, I should ask you: were you a Charlie Kirk fan?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, excellent. I
absolutely.
It was such a sad loss.
He was transcendental, transcendent. I could not believe. It's funny when I remember the night we were at a party on somewhere, and either the day after or shortly thereafter, I was at a party, and people that I never thought listened to him. Oh, and young people, by the way. He had more fans. He was, it's like Billy Graham rock star. He was bigger than anything, and nobody cares about really what happened to him. He's been forgotten. Did they bury him? Where is he buried? Was he cremated? Where are his parents? Are the children okay? We know nothing. All we know is about his widow, period.
He had such a power of speech and that blunt fairness with people where he wasn't going to cave to you, but he would not belittle you.
He was unapologetic. And interestingly enough, a lot of young people enjoyed the fact that he provided a very strict view when he said that women, mothers, wives, should stay home and not work. I guess Erica missed that. And he said he was very, very adamant when he said that he did not particularly care for the notion of transgender or whatever, but he was never rude. He was never disrespectful. He just said, this is what I believe, and that's it. And they liked it, and they respected him for that. And the loss is just incalculable.
So now, I guess Erica Kirk, I really didn't pay much attention to her after this, and I thought she was very, look, everybody grieves in their own way. I thought she was a bit dramatic and performative in her speeches and things about it, but that's great, for her. But I didn't pay any attention to her after that, really, or Turning Point. And so I hear so many bad, horrible things. A lot of people are coming down on her hard, and I was just curious why. So I was asking on the internet, social media the other day, saying, what's going on with Erica Kirk? And then you mentioned her, and so I thought I should just pick your brain on this.
Not only she is absolutely, she is fraudulent. And also TPUSA and that band of, I don't know what, these people are, all she had to do was, Candace Owens brought up something very interesting. She said the best way to react was she contrasted the way Kobe Bryant's wife died, who lost her daughter and, of course, her husband. And she was very, very respectful, quiet, and she did not end her brief moment with, don't forget, Lakers season tickets, go to Lakers.com. Immediately, this Erica does this released Zoom call. She was giddy days after this, talking with members of TPUSA about how the merch sales were great. She has no ability to comport. She's almost plastic. There's something, I don't know if she even exists. I really don't know if there's anything, if there's no there. Her stories, I don't want to go through it, but believe me, if TPUSA is going to survive, which I don't believe it will, she needs to step down and just get out of the way and go back to doing whatever TPUSA did, and not this constant reference. Did you see the other day when she was at University of Georgia, when she says she was there and decided, I can't go out because there's been threats. And meanwhile, J.D. Vance is there. The guy just came back from Islamabad. Secret Service says, there's no threats. What are you talking about? She didn't like it because she didn't want there to be she thought the turnout was embarrassing. That's what it was about. So anyway, listen, my friend, I thank you. I thank you so much. Let me get another one too. Let's go to Mark. Driving up 95 in Virginia. You're on another side of Midnight with Lionel.
Hello, Lionel. It's a pleasure to talk to you. And this is more or less,
thank you, sir.
I love Lionel call, but I'd like to share with you. I'd like to share with you my my radio life. I have to say, I lost my radio daddy, which was Rush, when Rush died. Yes, it was about the politics, but more so it was about the program and the way he ran that program. And I never thought I'd have that again, but you're certainly different. You have a different way, but the program is right up there with Rush's, and it's just really great. And I need you on the air, so I am patiently standing by for what you told us to wait for.
Well, you just sit tight for the weekends tomorrow night as well. We're going to be doing the weekends. Let me tell you one thing about Rush, though. I had the unique opportunity when I was at WABC then to see him daily. We were on the 17th floor, 2 Penn Plaza, and we saw him every single day. He was the nicest. And this may shock you. One of the, I don't want to say shy to the point, but he was not, on radio, he was very, very, very effusive, kind of loud, perhaps not loud, but brash and confident. But when you met him, he was so nice, so quiet, so ordinary, just a gentleman. I mean, really, absolutely a gentleman. And he really was something.
Yep.
He was transformational. He changed it. You can't believe the number of people, whenever you want, because he was in the back of the floor, we were in the front, and he would have to go. He had his studio was next to ours. He had the gold microphone. But anyway, you would see people, senators, every conceivable big shot sitting outside waiting to speak to him. I mean, he was it. Do you remember when he was so popular, he was on noon to 3, that restaurants were saying we're losing business, people aren't coming in, they didn't have, there wasn't mobile phones or, that kind of thing. So restaurants would say, we will have a Rush listening room just to bring people in because they weren't going to lunch. He was that popular. He transformed it. He was great. Bob Grant in his own right, Joe Pine, but he was funny. He was completely different. The two people who transformed radio dramatically was, whether you like him or not, Howard Stern, but Rush Limbaugh was a powerhouse. It wasn't just a popular show. What he said went. It was bigger than anything. I mean, I can't say enough about him. I have nothing but respect for him. Absolutely nothing but respect. And what a gentleman.
To me, it was intellect made easy. And don't try this at home because it doesn't work. Nobody could talk like him. Nobody could express like him. And
what also
you
did?
Got your own way, though, and I do say it's just as powerful.
Well, I appreciate that. One thing he did that was interesting was he spawned and inspired this litany of Rush wannabes. And all of a sudden, everybody, some guy who, the puker, the guy who talks like this right after the hour, and some guy who's doing overnights, in some light rock station who had the booming voice. He says, well, I can do this because I've been in radio. And it's like, this isn't about radio. You're not announcing songs or it's not banter. You've got to know what you're talking about. And then we went through this. It was like in the 80s when everybody wanted to be a comedian and they were standing in front of a brick wall. We had ha-has and hee-hees and all these improvs, and everybody wanted to be a comedian. And then that kind of wore out. Same thing happened with Rush. Everybody thought, I'm going to do it. And I said, you can take a Rush transcript, everything he said, put it in your own words, read it, and it won't be the same. It's not what he said. It's not the subject matter. It's him. It's this thing that you can't quantify. There's a magic to it. There's an art. There's a connectivity. And a lot of programmers don't understand this. Remember, a lot of people who would program radio stations were in sales or they were doing something else. And they said, I've been in radio. They never listen to the station. They don't have an ear for it. They don't even know what it is they're trying to listen to. It's very funny. If you're in sports radio, you better know sports. But when it came to news talk, they just figured, well, that's different. Anybody can program that. Anybody can know. Not necessarily. It was a different story. I'll tell you, I work with some incredible people. Bob Grant, locally in New York, was unbelievable. He was a much more caustic, but legendary. One of the nicest people. I don't know if I should say this, but one of the nicest guys, too, that I had the pleasure of meeting with. Absolutely transformational. Going back to Joe Pine, predating all of this. Father Coughlin, maybe the wrong example there. But in any event, I appreciate your very, very kind words, sir. Thank you for the encomia and the paeans and the panegyrics. This is another side of midnight with me, Lionel.
All night long, this is another side of midnight with Lionel. It's another side of midnight with Lionel.
Ah, yes. This is The Horse, is it not? Am I correct? Isn't it? I didn't hear that. It's okay. Doesn't matter. Our number?
Yes, it is.
800. I knew it. Every marching band tried to do this. 800-848-9222. One of my favorite marching band jokes was Robert Klein said that his marching band at his school was so bad that when they played the national anthem, people from all different countries stood up. Which was, we had a marching band too that was so bad. It's just, you can take any song and just destroy it. I remember one time they did 25 or 6-4. It was an abomination. There should have been a law against that. Ah, yes, marching bands. Has anybody ever said, hey, I'm just here for the marching band? The amount of work those people put in. And for what you ask, beats the hell out of me. Back to the phones, back to what I call fun. Let's go to George in Putnam. You're on another side of midnight with Lionel.
Oh, hi, Lionel. You guys had the great sense of humor. That separated you. You have humor like there's no tomorrow.
Thank you.
The thing with Rush, if you remember, Rush and Hannity supported the second Iraqi war, supporting invading a country that had nothing to do and invading the wrong country.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, Lionel? That's really horrible. And I know you were on the money on all these big issues.
But I didn't. I mean, but you know what? But the thing is, I'm talking more about the broadcaster. That's like saying I don't like a DJ's, music selection. It's like it's. Look, when it comes to war, and that I'm the last one anybody wants to talk to, because there's nothing worse than somebody who doesn't have to actually involve themselves in it, or who never served. I never was in the military, but I don't have to be in the military to understand that war is something I think that God and Jesus would say, you know what? This is not what I had in mind. Now, not that it's not warranted, not that it's not, but 9/11 was still one of the biggest cons ever. Remember that one? It's better to fight them there than here. What does that mean? The smoking gun could be a mushroom cloud. Even Christopher Hitchens was for that. Saddam Hussein was what? He was what? He didn't pose any threat to us. Oh, there might be. I love this notion of there might be. If you look at self-defense as an analogy and you ask yourself, how does this work? Could you shoot somebody because he might have a gun? He might be armed. He might. They would say, nice try, you'll be found guilty. But for some reason, when it comes to war, it's a different story. All righty, my friends, I'm going to thank you so much. Let me just first say to my good friend, Mr. Bill Lee and Tony Atwood, you two were phenomenal. The best in the business. Thank you, gentlemen, for your incredible assiduousness. And thank you so much for listening and being a part of us. We will see you tomorrow night. Same bad time, same bad channel. Until then, my friends, remember the monkey's dead. Show's over. Sue ya. Dad.